Just worth highlighting, look, rugby league, first to admit, it's copped some pretty rough headlines of late, but we don't want to make that cover up all some of the good work that's being done, particularly for the New South Wales Blues coach, Brad Fittler. Look, astute coach, but a really good fellow, as both of us know, and many who work in the media do know. He's very generous with his time. Well, he's about to head bush with a number of his former league greats on their annual Hogs Ride. Look, they've done this for almost a decade now, and while it is to highlight the plight of those living rough, in recent times they've teamed up with Gotcha4Life. Many of us would know Gus Worland from his work in the media as well. Very good man, Gus. And he is the fellow behind this foundation, which works so hard in the mental health space, particularly for males, but not exclusively. Look, the stats for self-harm, Pete, across the board, they're just damning. It really does hit so close to home. And that's what got the New South Wales coach so determined to help in any way he can by spending time in rural communities. Well, I caught up with Freddie this week and spoke a bit more about it. Here's a real moment of that conversation that stood out for me.
A young 18-year-old ex-footballer or footballer from Orange just recently committed suicide, and then when you know, the Indigenous suicide's even worse. Like, you know, we need to try. We're not obviously, if it's getting worse, we're not doing the right thing. So we need to get out there and hopefully set some things up where kids have an opportunity to talk when they're feeling pressure and when challenges are around, and also I think sport and getting them outside and kicking a footy around. So you know, I think if we can start with those things and then just establish just systems where, you know, they're outside and they're having fun and they're not so anxious.
He's a good bloke.
He is very good.
He's a good bloke, and that work is so important.
It is, particularly in rural areas, as we know. They've been dealing with fires, drought, now floods in some areas as well. Very, very stressful time for many, but yes, a very important message there. So we've got that full interview airing on Fox Sports News at the weekend, and yes, as we say, quite openly, it's a serious message, a very important conversation that must be had. Look, as for the tour, it starts on Monday, covers 5,000 Ks over 10 days, but the coach, Pete, is ready to cop some feedback as well. After suffering that upset loss to the Maroons, very open about the impact that had on him too is Freddie, but he knows there's going to be some feedback from the faithful, and there's nothing like the honesty of youth.
Well, that was the idea when I first started. I'll get out there and see what they think about the team. That was in 2013, and so I'm gathering I'm going to have some interesting feedback. So I'm ready, and I think I mentioned before that the most interesting feedback will always come from a cocky 10-year-old that has no filter. So I look forward to seeing all those kids out there.
Yeah, Freddie and co rolling into a town near you in New South Wales starting Monday.